the temperature of the system. We are talking about thermal oils, right? And their function is to transfer heat from one source to another. Okay, and here are some difference in the properties of the thermal fluid as well as lubricating oil, because many of us can have a question in our mind that can a lubricating oil be used as a thermal fluid? May or may not. That's a different thing. But may a customer can ask any question. So there are some properties which needs to be differentiated from a thermal fluid and a lubricating oil. So these are the some properties. That is, first of all, the thermal conductivity, which is the most important. The excellent thermal conductivity is required in thermal fluids because the major purpose of this thing is to heat the system, right? And the better the thermal conductivity, higher will be the heat flow and better will be efficiency of our system. Then here comes the specific heat. Specific heat is nothing but the amount of heat which is inside the body, a unit mass of the body, which is required to raise the temperature of the body by 1 degree centigrade. So the specific heat of a thermic fluid has to be very high. As high as it can be, it is good, because the amount of heat that can be transferred to the system will be more and the temperature change in our fluid will be less. That will show that the degradation of our fluid will be lesser as compared to if the temperature is on the higher side. Third thing is the viscosity. Now the viscosity of thermic fluid needs to be a lower side, because the lower the viscosity, the better will be the heat transfer between the inside the substances, inside the fluid. Then the oxidation stability needs to be very high, because the system runs at a very high temperature. It runs at a temperature of from 250 degrees to a 400 degree temperature. So if at that particular temperature, if the system runs, then the thermic fluid has to have a very good oxidation stability, also the thermal stability. Then auto ignition temperature, it also needs to be very high, since it can be a safety hazard. It can be a safety hazard if it is low. Then again, for lubricating oil, flash point is relevant, but for thermal fluid, it's very relevant. I should have also compared some more properties which we had discussed earlier, but when I'll circulate, I'll compare all that properties also and will circulate it to all of you. Okay, so then I would go to my next slide, which is the thermal fluid system.
So,
okay,
Savan,
now, yeah, yes, sir.
Can I go to earlier slide, please?
Yes.
I don't know. Probably, I think you are aware, and I think the other participants of this this call may be aware that most of the thermic fluids are nothing but a straight base oils. Good quality base oils are used.
Okay.
Most of them do not contain any additives.
Okay.
So why I'm raising that issue is you are telling oxidation stability of the thermic fluid is very high compared to the lubricating oil. At least most of the lubricating oil, for their functions, they contain antioxidants.
Right.
So you cannot say that thermic fluid has got a very high oxidation stability compared to the lubricating oil. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And the specific heat, thermal conductivity, these are all the properties, the function of the particular, the composition of the fluid, what you are selecting it, and also to some extent is the viscosity. Why viscosity is the molecular weight. Viscosity also depends upon the chain length and molecular weight.
Okay.
Okay, all those properties. And again, auto ignition temperature, do you know the relation between auto ignition temperature and viscosity for a given composition?
No, sir. At this point, I don't know.
So please find out.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Generally, you know that auto ignition temperature of the fuels. You know the fuels. The gasoline. Gasoline means what I call is petrol. In loose terms, we call it as petrol, motor gasoline, and diesel fuel.
Yes.
Which one has got a higher auto ignition temperature?
Petrol has a higher auto ignition temperature than diesel.
So what does it tell you? Does it tell you something with molecular weight and viscosity relation with auto ignition?
Yes, if the viscosity is low, then the auto ignition temperature is high.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So again, auto ignition temperature depends upon the viscosity for a given given composition.
Okay.
It's always important to use a given composition. If you use a two different composition kind of hydrocarbons, then that can vary slightly.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
So there are
So,
certain property difference between Shell product and our product. So how do we create that difference if we are actually using only base oil?
Sorry?
yes, SP.
So like there is a certain difference between Shell product, BPCL product, our product. Properties are different as far as like bulk temperature is concerned. The specific heat is there. So how do we create that difference if you are not adding additives, much of additives? Only by base oil, selecting the base oil.
Base oil is a very loose term. We use it. What type of base oil, from which source, how do you control the base oil composition comes into play.
Okay. So that is consistent for us as far as like thermic oil is concerned.
That I cannot say. But definitely we specify. I am sure for in the formulation when it's given, they must have specified it. It's extremely important. It's extremely important to maintain the source constant for a thermic fluid. If it vary from source, refinery to refinery, it can vary. The one is boiling range can vary. Thereby, initial boiling point will vary. Composition can vary. So hence, you won't get a consistent this thing. So if some of the products are become popular because there's a reason behind that. Like HPC used to be very popular before Shell came into this thing. Even still after Shell or maybe HPC is still popular. HPC has got their own refinery. I am sure they may be using a particular cut. And Shell, I know that Shell used to get it from a particular source. I don't know whether they continue to do it now or not. I know at least 20 years back. And of course, some people do use some little bit of antioxidants. In fact, we developed a product based on the group 2 base oils. I have been requesting B2B to find a opportunity to conducting a monitoring by using that product. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, so I would go on with the presentation. So here is something that I would like to explain you, the heating system and its application. So when we go into field, at least we should be aware okay, what is the heating system, where is the thermic fluid. Just by the name, if we say we need to sell the thermic fluid to the customer, we go, okay, sir, aapko thermic fluid chahiye, that's okay. But we should also know that how it is used into the process. Okay, so there is a specific heater which is designed to heat this thermic fluid, and it is circulated into different applications, which I will show into the next slide how it is circulated into the system, and also I have listed down some of the applications in the industry, and there's a bit deep dive into that industry so that you can be at least clear in your mind, okay, how we can say. So that's in textile industry, it can be dryers, it can be polymerizers, it can be curing machines. Dryers can straight away be drying the textile. Polymerizers can be polymerizers are normally used to improve the fixability of this whatever the printing is done onto the on the textile. Whatever the printing is done after polymerizer, that is fixed onto the cloth. Then there are curing machines in plastic and rubber. If all of you can please mute, I cannot. Yeah. So in plastic and rubber industry, it can be molding, it can be lamination, it can be vulcanizing process. In timber industry, it can be plywood manufacturing or timber drying. In metal finishing, it can be heating, anodizing, phosphating. And in food industry, it can be drying or it can be frying. So these are some of the applications which I have a bit deep dived and tried to tell you. Now, in next slide, I would show how a system is how this is actually the oil is circulated into the system. So you can see here, right? Now in the system, there is a fluid heater, there is the expansion tank, and the rest of the accessories with this system. And you have a line where you can have different applications. You can have a line which goes in and the other line which flows out. And then again, it is circulated into the tank where it has been stored at a specific temperature, and then it can be used. So this is how a system or a oil or a thermic fluid is circulated into the system. Right. So It can be a steam pack, a power pack. It can be a storage tank where temperature needs to be maintained. It can be a press or a mold where if I say rubber, the rubber needs to be maintained at a temperature, then only it can be flattened or it can be done into a system or into a particular mold. It can be a plastic where mold has to be at a where plastic has to be at a particular temperature, so it can be molded easily. Okay. It can be a bath or a kettle. The temperature needs to be maintained to have some process going on. It can be some rolls. It can be fryers where the simplest example is whatever this namkeen or the we use or the chips we use. They use this kind of fluids to maintain a temperature because using a thermic fluid maintains a temperature in the range of 0.5 degrees plus or minus 0.5 degrees. So this is the most precise way of providing the heat to the system or controlling the system to a temperature. It can be reactor, maybe a chemical reactor where temperature needs to be maintained at 250 degrees constant, plus minus 1 or 2 degrees. So thermic fluid is used. So it can maintain a temperature and the chemical reaction can happen. It can be an oven. So this is how the oil is circulated into the system and the process can occur at a specified temperature which we want to. And the end product what we get does not come out with the defects. It can be a precise process and the end product will be without the defects. All right. And so next I would share something about the classification of the thermic fluids.
Seven, can you tell about deaerator expansion tank? What is that?
Deaerator expansion tank, right? It's actually it's an accessory where it is placed above the system, above the heater, above the system somewhere at the height over the heater, where when we heat the thermic fluid, okay. Now after heating, it expands. The volume increases. Now in order to compensate that particular volume, there is a deaerator or an expansion tank which is required in order to maintain the level of the system. That is the another accessory which is put nearer to the heating system. So that is the thing, and it is also blanketed with the either a nitrogen or a heat shield or something like that, so that the heat which is inside the fluid does not go directly to the atmosphere. Hello, am I clear, sir?
But why it's called a deaerator?
Sir, it is it's called a deaerator because when we heat, there is a turbulence inside the air and it is vented out to the atmosphere. So as if there are some bubbles or the air bubbles which comes into the system, it can directly be sent out to the atmosphere, and without any air bubbles or without any aeration, we can run our system, improving the efficiency.
And he also mentioned nitrogen blanketing. Can you just explain to the people why nitrogen blanketing?
Yeah, nitrogen blanket is required in order to maintain the temperature, or in order to maintain the temperature of that particular deaerator. It is outside that tank. I would read some more about it and will let you know.
I think you must read it. That's not the reason why nitrogen blanketing is done.
Correct.
Okay.
So the classification of thermic fluid can be based on 3 types. It can be mineral, it can be synthetic based, and it can be silicon. Okay, so what we had talked about is these 3 types, and further I would talk about some of the major characteristic of the thermic fluid. It can be white. It is majorly white thermic fluids, right? So this can run up to a higher temperature with minimum atmospheric pressure, which simplifies the design and the installation. That means if you are using a steam or something else instead of this hot oils or the thermic fluids, then you would have to design a very robust system. You can never use this system of steam up to 400 degrees centigrade temperature, because it will be at a very high pressure, and the containing that particular high pressure is very it's very difficult. Okay. The second thing, the major characteristics of using a thermic fluid is absence of corrosion. Now, since itself has a oily properties, there will be no corrosion inside the system. Okay, then third is high thermal inertia, that is the system can retain heat for longer time. The specific heat of fluid itself is very high, so it can retain heat for a longer time. Then long life of the equipment, it can run up to 15 to 20 years with standard maintenance practices and regular interval maintenance of the fluid and checking of the fluid. Third thing, it can be a non-pressurized system because it runs at a normal pressure, normal atmospheric pressure, the whole system. Okay, low pressure design and proportionally reduce CO2 and NOx emissions. Then you can have mixed temperatures that can easily be reached by different to different applications using a single system. Okay, so this can be some major characteristics of a heating system that can be used and using a thermal fluid. Next is the major properties of the system. Major properties of the thermic fluid. So I have segregated properties into some four different types. These are operational properties, the fire-related properties, preventing thermal degradation properties, and effect of thermal degradation. These are the properties. These are bifurcated on the basis of this one. Here in next some few slides, I would explain some major properties which are relevant to the thermic fluid and thermic fluid heaters. So operational properties, what we are concerned about is thermal conductivity again, specific heat, that is coefficient of thermal expansion, again viscosity, 4-point carbon residue. Fire related properties can be flash point auto ignition temperature. These are fire safety. Then preventing thermal expiration is maximum allowable bulk temperature and fill temperature. This I'm going to explain in next few slides. Then again, the one of the major properties, two of the major properties is the thermal degradation regarding these are the low boilers and the high boilers, which are which comes into the thermic fluids when they run at a very high temperatures. This can be effect of the thermal degradation. Now further, I would start to explain the properties one by one. Some major properties, 4 or 5 properties I have explained. So the first one is the thermal conductivity. Now thermal conductivity is something which is the ability of a material to transfer the heat. Thermal conductivity is the heat transfer takes place inside a fluid due to the agitation of the molecules which are close by to each other. Now in solids, since the molecules are very close to each other, therefore the heat transfer is very easy. Now one more thing, as the temperature increases, the distance between the molecules also increases. Therefore we see that in the thermal conductivity, as the temperature increases, the thermal conductivity of a particular fluid or a particular gas, it goes on decreasing. That's the reason why thermal conductivity depends on the temperature. As it increases, the thermal conductivity decreases, and the difference or the so this is the reason why thermal conductivity of a liquid or a gas or a solid decreases with the increase in the temperature. Also, how the heat is transferred or how the temperature also how the heat is conducted from one part to another. Because of the collision, where there is a heat, the energy goes into some molecules, they collide with each other, they transfer the energy, then the heat is transferred to the other one, then the energy is changed. So this is the basic of thermal conductivity. Now thermal conductivity is one of the major properties for thermic fluids because it has to transfer the heat at a higher temperature. So better the thermal conductivity of any fluid, may it be a mineral fluid, may it be a synthetic fluid, it has to have a very good value for this, so that my system efficiency is maintained and it is within the limits where what I need to be. Okay, and it is also directly proportional to the amount of fuel which will be used for burning the for maintaining the temperature. So it is also a property which can save money for the customer. So next thing is specific heat. Now thermal conductivity, then specific heat. Now specific heat is something which is the amount of heat which is required to change the temperature of unit mass of a body from 1 degree temperature. Okay. Now here I have made comparison of two simple things. One is glass and one is water. Now if I heat 1 kg of glass from 25 degrees to 26 degrees centigrade, it needs 840 joules of energy. Now, if I need heat water from 125 to 26 degrees centigrade, it needs 4,200 joules of water. What does that mean? That means, first thing, these are the two different states. glass is in solid state and water is in liquid state. So these are the two different types of things. Okay. Now again, if the temperature is increases, now when temperature increases, there is a separation between the molecules. Now the specific heat again will increase to change the temperature. Okay, so specific heat also very important property, since the total amount of heat which is inside the system, which has to be transferred to my end process point, will be more, as the temperature will not increase by heating. I think I should explain it in a different way. Now, if specific heat of my thermic fluid is better, then the amount of heat which is inside my thermic fluid will be more, and the temperature at that particular point will be less. So the degradation of the fluid will be lesser as compared to the other one, which has a lesser thermic fluid, which has a lesser specific heat. Okay. Then it can be expressed in terms
For
of,
that particular temperature, more heat will be required
tell me once again, SP.
to reach a particular temperature which is required for the process. More heat will be required.
Yes, more heat will be more heat will not be required. See, say my temperature, the process, if the process requires, say, operating at 280 degrees. Okay.
Yeah.
Now at the heating of my fluid at 280 degrees centigrade will require some amount of heat, right, with X amount of specific heat. Okay. And if it's a competition, it will require a Y amount of heat to reach at 280 degrees centigrade.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if the specific heat of my system is better, okay, the heat will be transferred. It will carry more heat and it has to be transferred. Now, since I have more heat with me and it can be transferred easily, so my thermic fluid will easily heat the system. Okay, my fluid will easily heat the product system where it is required. Whereas to maintain the temperature at 280 degrees for this particular heat, for this particular competition, it would require more heat or more fuel to be burned, then it will transfer. Am I clear?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Like, if the specific heat will be more, the amount of consumption of the fuel will be more, I guess.
Yes.
Because if you see, if you have talked in previous slide, that thermal conductivity will be more, then amount of heat radiation will be more, then amount of heat absorbed will be more, then the consumption of the fuel will be more.
Thermal conductivity and specific heat. If these both properties are, go hand in hand. If my thermal conductivity is better, my specific heat is high. Okay. Then,
like in one of my case, one of my competitors said that if the specific heat will be less, then the amount of fuel consumption will be less as compared to if we have a thermal specific.
Yes, it will be. Yeah, it will be less to reach at a particular temperature. Okay. Now, if my product is at a particular temperature, now at a X point or a Y point, I need to transfer this heat to the system. Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I need to transfer this heat to the system. Now, my specific heat is, suppose, say 100 joules, okay, at this particular point. And I need to transfer this 100 joules to the other system. And the temperature of that particular system will be maintained, right? Now, the specific heat of, say, suppose this one is 80, okay? Now, if 80 is at a particular temperature, then the temperature will reduce much easily in the Y oil than my oil. Can you, am I able to explain to you?
Savan, I just want to add what you have told. You have correctly told. Gentlemen, actually, the purpose of thermic fluid is it absorbs heat from the source and then transfer the heat to the process. So the more heat it can absorb from the source without increasing the temperature of the fluid, it is better. So if a specific heat of the thermic fluid is high, it can absorb more heat from the source, and without increasing the temperature, it can transfer the heat with a better thermal conductivity. Is it clear now? So higher the specific heat, it is better. It can absorb more heat and it can hold more heat.
Tapas.
Yes, sir.
this YP here. Who is the gentleman asked that question?
Sir, regarding
Pankaj.
Sorry?
Pankaj Joshi, sir.
Yes, Pankaj. I'll just give you a small example. Yes, you are absolutely right. For a given quantity, if it is the higher the specific heat, to reach that particular temperature, you require more fuel to heat it.
Right, sir.
That you are absolutely right. But I'll give you another example. What is the purpose of thermic fluid? Just to carry the heat, right?
Is to transfer the heat, basically. Yes, sir.
Yeah. First, it has to carry and transfer it where it's required, right?
Right, sir.
Okay. So, for example, you assume two fluids, fluid A, fluid B. Assume that fluid B contains a 10% higher specific heat.
Right, sir.
Compared to fluid A.
Right, sir.
For all other factors being same, since fluid B contains a higher specific heat,
Right,
if the fluid A tank capacity is, you are using a say 100, say 100 liters. I'm just giving an example.
Right, sir.
In the case of fluid B, you can manage with a 90 liters tank capacity.
Right, sir. Which is 90 liters?
Whichever is having higher heat capacity, a fluid which is having higher heat capacity, you can reduce your tank capacity.
90 watts. 90.
Yeah. Since that has got a 10% higher specific heat. First of all, 10% won't be a difference. Most of the products, if they are hydrocarbons, they will be in the similar range. Okay. Maximum, it may vary, I think, plus or minus 2%, depends upon the composition variation.
Right, sir.
Just to expand the point, yes, your point is right. If it is higher the specific heat for a given volume compared to the other fluid which is having for the same volume having a lesser specific heat, you require a higher energy to attain the same temperature in the case of higher specific heat fluid.
Right, sir.
But at the same time, it is also carrying more heat. Please understand that.
Right, sir. And actually, sir, it was encountered when terminal person they said, sir, if we have a less specific heat, the amount of consumption of the fuel will be lesser as compared to the amount of fuel consumption in the mineral base. Actually, that was a conversation which we had in the.
And end of the day, fuel consumption is proportional to how much heat you have to carry,
Right,
and
sir.
you are exchanging, right?
Right, sir.
If you are using a product with a lower specific heat, you require more amount of fluid.
Right.
Right, sir.
Or if you are using a fluid with higher specific heat, you can manage with a lower amount of fluid, tank capacity, and all those things.
Tank capacity will be.
Yeah.
But in that case, the tank capacity will be same, sir.
That's what I explained to the basic point. Most of the hydrocarbons, they will have a similar same the specific heat and the thermal conductivity.
Right, sir.
For a given composition.
Right, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I would go on to the next property, next important property. That is film temperature and maximum allowable bulk temperature. So I would try and shown is with the help of a diagram over here that this is the heat source and it's a pan filled with some fluid. So the whatever the temperature which is at the surface, inside surface of that particular pan into the fluid, that is known as the film temperature. And after convection, the heat is transferred, and whatever the temperature of this whole fluid or the fluid above the film will be the bulk temperature. So these are the two important properties, film temperature and bulk temperature, because film or the surface, the inner surface or the film of the oil is the thing where major degradation of the fluid happens. So this needs to be controlled and needs to be within the range, and it can be controlled only by the system and the heat source, whatever is there. Okay, so these are the two important properties. Now, yes, say in typical, we can say 15 to 25% of the degradation of the, of the total heat transfer fluid degradation takes place in the film region. So being an operator, or when we go into the field and ask if we find a problem with our fluid, customer says that it is degrading very easily and all those things. So we can always ask with the parameters of their operation. Okay, sir, what is this? What is the film temperature? What is the bulk temperature? How we are using it? Are there any heat shocks into the system? Is the system frequently getting shut off or shut on? So this can be point of discussion with the customer on some points where we can say, okay, this can be the issues if there is the degradation or the very severe degradation of the fluid. Okay, normally the film temperature is higher by 10 degrees than the bulk temperature, and if the film temperature of now it's a thumb rule that if we run at a 10 degrees higher temperature than rated, then the life of the particular fluid comes down to the 50%. So if this is the thumb rule, then you can say how a heat shock or a higher film temperatures can affect the quality of our fluid which is running inside the system. And always controlling the film temperature and bulk temperature of the thermal fluid will lead to the longer life of the heat transfer fluid, along with the regular maintenance of this particular heating system, as well as the regular monitoring of the thermal fluid which is running inside the system. Okay, so these are the two major properties or two major things which we need to keep in our mind. And next important thing is low boilers and the high boilers. So these are the two things. One is the low boilers and one is the high boilers. These are actually molecular chains which are formed when the system runs at higher temperatures. Okay, so low boilers are formed when thermic fluid is heated above the rated temperatures, and these things are something which molecular weight is less than the parent fluid, and it increases the flash point of the thermic fluid. But how it increases? Because the molecular weight, it comes into the vapor form, and again since it's in vapor form, it increases the risk of the flash into the system. And these are the byproduct of the thermal degradation of the thermic fluid. Okay, thermal degradation itself means the degradation which is because of the heating of the Hello?
What is parent fluid here?
Parent fluid is our fluid what we have supplied. Whatever the fluid is running into this system, that is parent fluid. I mean, if we have taken this sample of a fluid which is initially filled into the system, that is known as the parent fluid.
I don't know, Savan, I'm not clear. Your first point, below the low boiler and high boiler, you written the same. Is it right?
Sir, heated above the rated temperature. So, sir, in the high boilers, the molecular weight is higher than the parent fluid, and it increases the surge formation. The first thing is First thing is same, or the first point is same when the fluid is heated above the rated temperature. Say if we are giving a rated.
In both the cases, you are telling is heated above the rated temperature.
Right. It is heated above the rated temperature. There is a possibility of forming. There is formation of some molecular chains which is lower than which has a molecular weight which is lower, and there is formation of some molecular chain which is whose molecular weight is higher than the parent fluid. Now, if the sludge is high, the high boilers normally increases the sludge formation into the thermic system. Now, if the sludge formation increases, then what happens is it deposits on the surface of the tubes which carry the fluid, or it deposits inside the tank. So again, it reduces the thermal conductivity of the particular system and reduces the efficiency of the systems. And these both are the byproduct.
First of all, I don't know. I'm still not clear. Can you explain what is low boiler, what is high boiler?
Sir, normally the low boilers and high boilers are some molecular. Low boilers are this molecular chains, which is, if vapors are formed inside the thermic fluid, these are because of the low boilers. And if sludge is formed inside the thermic fluid, this is because of the high boilers. Now, what are
no. First of all, you need to define what is low boiler, what is high boiler. That is not clear. I don't know. It's I don't know. Anybody can add to that to help Savan?
I think Satish here. To Savan, with I think I may be wrong. One example we can quote for the injection molding machine. They'll be having a small heat exchanger process where the capacity itself is just 12 liters. So it carries the heat from the molding part the temperature in that the heat exchanger is around 180 degrees Celsius, where there is a lot of fumes and sludge formation is very high. Maybe can you relate that low boilers to that application?
No, it is not related.
I have a question. Like if you have written in low boiler, high boiler, that are rated temperature. Can you please tell me the rated temperature of our thermic fluid?
It is just wait. I have to. It is around. I think it is 340. Bulk temperature is 315, and the film temperature is 340.
Yeah, but what is the rated temperature? Like is it 280? It is 350. The bulk oil temperature.
Or rated temperature is the bulk temperature. What we tell. Bulk operating temperature 315.
And basically, sir, low boilers is those boilers which is operating below 315, and high boilers are those who are operating more than 315.
No. Both these molecules will be formed when the fluid is heated or the bulk temperature will go above 315 degrees centigrade. Okay, there are chances that some material is formed or some chemical reaction takes place where the molecules are formed which has a molecular weight which is more than the parent fluid. If we say the molecular weight of our fluid is 122 grams per mole, and if the molecular weight of this one is 250 grams per mole, then these are known as high boilers. And if the molecular weight of some chemical chains, chemicals which are formed which is less than say 120 moles per gram, these are known as low boilers. So
where from you have taken this material?
Sir, Paratherm and Therminol sites. And I have referred Hytherm also.
Savan, I think the temperature control unit in the injection molding machine. I request once you can just go through that. I think that will lead you to some answers with respect to your our understanding on the low boilers.
So the way you are written, the way.
Sorry, Tapas here. See, these low boilers and high boilers are related to oil degradation. Okay, when oil are heated, very high temperature, what someone is telling more than 315 or higher temperature. So oil molecular bonds begins to break and they thermally degrade. And then some of the new materials are generally formed, which have sometimes have a lower molecular weight and typically a lower boiling point than the original fluid. So these are called basically low boilers. Whereas when it is formed higher molecular weight, polymerize and makes higher molecular weight and higher boiling point, so those are called high boilers. So this is not related with the boiler term. This is basically the oil degradation terms. Right,
this is not property of thermic oil, no? Is it property of thermic oil?
It is not.
Yeah.
It is a property of thermic oil. It is related to the thermal degradation of thermic oil. It is not the boiler itself. It is not the heating system, right? It is the fluid which we are talking about.
The way it happens, if it is a thermal heating, surface heating is there, too much oil is getting subjected, every oil cracks. That is called a thermal cracking. That's where the molecular weight reduces. The chain length breaks. So smaller molecules are formed, flash point goes down, then molecular weight goes down. That is because of thermal cracking. The second thing what you are telling is if the sludge formation and all, when product is getting oxidation, product is getting oxidized. Okay, in any case that dissolved air is always there unless you clearly use the nitrogen blanketing, but still system picks up, I was told, system picks up the air at the same time. So that is because of oxidation products. Sludge always comes because of oxidation products. If it's oxidation, polymerization, yes, Tapas is telling, yes, molecular weight can increase.
Okay.
And in this low boiler case, this flash point should be decreasing, not increasing per se.
No, it increases.
No, flash point will decrease. Yeah, if it's low, if thermal cracking is taking place, flash point will decrease. That's why you just be careful. I don't know, something is a lot of mix-up is taking place here. Just be careful. Okay.
Okay.
Are you comparing it? Or you are comparing three different fluids. One is the reference fluids, and there are two more fluids you are comparing.
It is this.
Yeah, it looks like to me. Yeah, reference fluid is there, and one then another. There's a if reference fluid is R, there is another fluids A and B. A fluid is the molecular weight is lower than the reference fluid, and B is the molecular weight higher than the reference fluid.
No, sir. I mean, my idea was to compare the same fluid for all three properties, even if it's a parent fluid or what is high boilers in that parent fluid and low boilers in that. I'll cross check. I'll go through once again and correct all this.
Okay.
Okay.
And you also, Savan?
Yeah.
You also speak to Sanjay Kumar.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so these were the major properties what I would have explained in what I would explain in this one. Now the next slide is about the type of synthetic fluids what we have talked about. So there can be different chemistries of the synthetic thermal fluid. This can be alkylated aromatics. This can be mixture of diphenyl and biphenyl. This can be a mixture of diphenyl ethane and diphenyl oxide. So what I would want to say that if we heard a term synthetic, it is not clearly a PAO based, not only a PAO based fluid which is used into the system. This can be different chemistries of this different chemicals which are used into the system. So there can be others also. The DOTHERM uses some other chemistries for this thing. There can be silicon oils also, right? There can be others also. Hello. And there can be same chemistry which can be used for two different temperature ranges also. In next slide, I'm giving that example, right? So these are the formulations that help a fluid to operate at different bulk temperatures and can be selected according to application. And the next slide, which I'm going to show, will show you some of the products which are into this chemistries and what bulk temperatures they can operate. So these are some of the manufacturers, their products, and at the bulk temperatures what they can operate. Okay, so there is Bradco, Exeltherm. There are DOE chemicals, DOE, which can operate up to 400 degrees. It is a mixture of diphenyl oxide and biphenyl. There are alkylated aromatics. Now there can be hydrogenated terphenyl, and there can be other chemicals also. I mean, there can be other chemistries also. I have not listed that one. And the bulk operating temperatures can range from 290 to 400 degrees centigrade, depending upon the product chemistry and the requirement of the application. The major players which are into the hello, can everyone mute please? There are the major players which are into the synthetic thermic fluids, DOE chemicals, Aratherm, Multitherm, Terminol, and Radco, and others also are there. But hello. Hello.
Yes, Savan, carry on.
Yeah.
You are on mute.
Yeah. I myself was on mute. So in this chart, what I had shown is that the different products with the different manufacturers and their bulk operating temperatures. So if we come across into the field and someone says that this is the thing which I am using, so at least we can be aware of what chemistry it can be and what are the temperatures they are using it. So this is the small chart what I had shown here, and there are also other chemistries which are used as a synthetic fluid. I have not listed them down. There are many other chemistries with DOTHERM also which are used. Okay, so that was all from my side on this synthetic topic. If any question is there, I'm happy to answer them, and if I will not be able to answer, I'll take it and revisit and will give the answer to you.
Hello, Savanji, Karthik here.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's a very basic question which I'm not aware. Just I wanted to clarify. Our product flashpoint is 230 and fire point is 255. But for open closed system, it is 315. The maximum bulk oil temperature allowable is 315. So that means how can we relate these two, fire point and bulk temperature? That means whether our oil will completely turn into gaseous form or how the heat transfer takes place.
No. See, flash point is something when it comes into an external source heat contact or the fire contact, it fires or it flashes for a second, right? Now, the system itself is enclosed. Okay, enclosed means it is circulated. It's a closed loop system. There is nowhere it is used. There is nowhere it is in contact with the fire or the external fire system. So that's why this this thermic fluids can be used at a higher temperature than their flash point or fire point.
I think Karthik is confused auto ignition temperature. What is the auto ignition temperature for this, Savan?
Which one?
Our thermic fluid. What is the auto ignition temperature?
Auto ignition temperature 380. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to what Savan just said. Hello. Yes, as flashpoint is definitely lower than the bulk oil temperature. As as I said, it is an enclosed system, so it is not in contact with the air. So the actual fire point and the oil degradation cannot be compared. So that's the reason.
Can I just add it?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, the flash point and fire point, for both you require a hydrocarbon fuel. And second thing is, as Tapas told, you require air because oxygen is required. And most important thing is source of flame is required.
Right.
Okay, and the difference between why fire point is higher than the flash point always, flash point is nothing but the first flash when you see, it sustains only instantaneously. It flashes and goes off. But if it sustains for a given time, I think the time I don't remember, maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes. I don't know how many. What is the duration of time? If that flash sustains for a particular time, then that is called a fire point. That's why fire point is always higher than the flash point.
Yes.
So to add on to that, now the question is that nitrogen blanketing, what we do, that is because to avoid the oxygen coming contact with the hot oil. So nitrogen is considered as one of the inert gas, and that's why the blanketing is done so that to avoid any oxidation and fire this thing to happen. That is the purpose of generally nitrogen blanketing.
And second thing, any fluid, if you take hydraulic oil, I don't remember that percentage. Any fluid, if you take it at room temperature, at any given temperature, it has got a dissolved air. Always fluid contains a dissolved air. When you heat it, that air it comes out air. That's why the deaeration tank, so that you are allowing the air to come out of the fluid. Deaeration tank. And third thing is, yes, for a good systems, people do use the nitrogen blanketing so that it does not again absorb the air and so that oxidation will start.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Which parameters our top-up percentage depends?
Hello. Can you come again once again? Hello.
Yeah, top-up percentage depends in which which parameter?
You can say directionally, if lower the flash point, higher the top-up.
Higher the flash point, lower the flash point, higher the top-up.
Yeah, for a given system conditions.
Okay. And what is the generally top-up percentage for the synthetic fluid?
No. Top-up could be again because of different reasons. Top-up because of the evaporation. That whatever I told you that holds good only for evaporation. If product is getting decomposed, it's getting oxidized. Okay, sludge formation takes place. Okay, then also you need to there must be I don't know, there must be filters to remove that, and then also you require a top up. If there is a leakages in the system, then again top up increases. Okay, but everything being all right, if the lower the flash point, higher the top up directionally.
Right, sir.
3 to 4% roughly.
One probably not related with the theme, but is it any issue, ethical or technical issue, that we are not having product like Thermalol 55? Hello.
Yeah, that I cannot answer at this point. Savan here.
Yeah.
What is that? What is the question, Savan?
Sir, SP sir was asking, why are we not having this product which is equivalent to Thermalol 55? Are there any? I mean, there are some. I mean, are there any restrictions or some issues? Restrictions, right?
What is the composition of Thermalol 55?
Thermalol
aromatic benzene compound.
Aromatic benzene. No.
Huh?
I don't know much, sir. Like.
Sir, it is a benzene alkyl derivatives having
alkylated benzene or alkylated aromatic hydrocarbons. Somebody has it comes. It should be then he has not mentioned that product here under the alkylated aromatic. He has not mentioned the product here. If that is the one.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a alkyl benzene.
Yeah, alkylated aromatic.
Alkylated aromatic is nothing but it comes basically actually as a what you call as a side product when you make a linear alkyl benzenes for the basically detergents.
Yeah.
No, the question was, can we have that kind of product? Can we make?
We don't make linear alkylated benzene, right? So and second thing is that the first let us establish ourselves as a player in that mineral based thermic fluid market which is 90%. I don't get to see even a single system where we have been maintaining a system, we are having a used oil analysis. I'm sure one day if we are able to consolidate our position in the mineral based, I think we can expand it to other fluids. Especially when you want to go to the chemicals, there's no value add from us. We'll be distributor. We'll be buying from somebody who is manufacturing that chemical and we'll be distributing it.
Okay.
Okay.
Kamath here. Just one more point on our query on the declarated expansion tank.
Sir, I cannot hear you clearly.
Location of.
I cannot hear you clearly, sir.
Yeah, 1 minute. Can you?
No. Hello. No.
Kamath, you can write your question. You can write your question if you cannot ask.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Savan, thank you very much. It's a great call. I see that really technology at its best is almost about 55 people have attended this call. I think technology is working. IT is a great initiative, and this MS Teams is really working well, barring few, of course, disturbances. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so you guys, if there are some other questions, we are already half an hour period, we have already exceeded half an hour of the meeting. So if there are any other question, maybe you can send a mail to Savan, and Savan will, with consultation with other, come back to you.
Yes, yes. Surely.
Is that okay, Savan?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Savan. Thanks for this session. So
Thanks,
I have to. There are a couple of technical glitches here, but we'll try to cover it up in the next session. Actually, thank you, Savan. Thanks for this.
Okay. Yeah, Savan.
Thanks.
Tapas sir, Savan, are you there?
Yes.
Just one Satish here from Chennai.
Satish.
I just want to talk about one point because when I was handling Toshiba account for maybe some few years back. Okay, so in that injection molding machine there is a temperature controller unit. Okay, we did some trial with the thermic fluid 32 also.
Just a second, Satish. Just a second.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir. Okay. Okay. I think I would have done.
Ambrose இருக்கீங்களா?
நான் இருக்கேன்.
ஓகே.
இல்ல கட் ஆயிடுச்சு நினைக்கிறேன்ல.
Maybe this topic maybe you can involve, if Tapas is there you can involve him also. This our invite பண்ண முடியுமா? Just want to few points I want to add up. So maybe in future we can.
Yeah, one second. ஆட் பண்ண சொல்றீங்களா?
ஃப்ரீயா தான கனெக்ட் பண்ணுங்க, இல்லனா விட்டுறலாம்.
நான் கால் பண்றேன் சார்.
Maybe I will invite.
Hello. Yeah, Satish.
Yeah, Satish here.
Yeah, Satish. Sorry to keep you holding.
No issues. There is some injection molding machine. It has a thermal control unit.
Right, it has.
So what happens in that? So what I faced with Toshiba, which is in Chennai. We tried with the Gulf Therm 32 at a location in Pondicherry a few years back. So what we noticed is a lot of some capacity, just 10 or 12 liters capacity. Okay, they tried with various products, be it Shell. They tried with the Hythem 600, lot of products. So everything has failed. So what I basically want to tell you, there is an open issue with the injection molding issues, wherever the temperature control unit is there. If it is possible, we can able to, if we can able to address that issue, they will be listing our product in their portfolio.
Okay, we can always go and see the application, how it is working, and what is how it is working.
Since industrial sales team is also there, so they can also take it up further.
Yeah, we can always. We can always go and have a look at the application, that what it is working. Where I've also seen myself the injection molding machine. That's not an issue. Okay, it's a very simple product. I mean, it's a very simple application. Just temperature needs to be maintained, and it's the oil needs to be circulated. That's the only thing.
That's what the issue
there is
comes
nothing major. Only the
correct. The issue comes from the TCU unit, where they have to change oil every month.
Why? I mean, why they have to change oil every month? I mean, either the unit is not working fine because either the unit is not working fine because it all has the sensors, and if the sensors are not working fine, the heater will not cut off at the particular point. It will heat that oil at a very high temperature, and it will degrade. That's the first point.
See, this is the open issue. Still, it is an open issue in the industries for the industrial molding machines. People who are visiting can just see, and we can, because we thought of giving other products. Maybe just roughly we want to try some glycol product which has a higher boiling point.
Okay. Okay.
We tried of that, but anyway, unfortunately, we didn't move. It didn't move off. So just want to bring it to your notice so that sales team is also there.
Okay.
Satish, sir, it comes under this OEM scope or it is customer?
I don't know. Currently, I don't know. Since the topic is specific to thermic fluid and it's more related to the same product, I just want to convey the message to the team so that anybody who comes across the temperature control unit in the injection molding machine, they can escalate and bring it to Savan or Compass. It's a technical issue has to be resolved. But what is happening? They are changing the oil every month or 2 months. It is irritating.
Okay. We can always go and see that. Yeah.
Savan, we have discussed with the Toshiba Pune team because the major reason is that it's a kind of a cooling jacket. I mean, injection molding for conventional product, they are using water and there's a air jacketing and there's a thermic fluid where is a very precise control is required, not for the auto industry. It is a kind of a accessory which they are using for cooling purpose. Now the challenge is that people are not finding 20-liter pack, right? So they have to buy this oil in small pack, I mean loose quantity. So the moment they buy it from the loose quantity, so they never know what product they are buying. Whereas Toshiba is I mean approving this Hytham 500 and 600. There are two products, right? So what we had discussed with the team, we have a single product which can present against these two products and same can be replicated to their vendors. Actually, they have their own vendors. So through them they can vendor. So
actually, we tried in Chennai, it has failed. Term 32.
Okay, I don't know, but we are running in Pune, so it is running fantastically, and a 20-liter pack we have available, so it is also appreciated.
Satish, what I told now, it can be a system issue where the oil might be getting heated and their sensors are not working fine. Unless unless it cuts off at a temperature which it is required. What we can do is we can take the oil at that particular oil from there, and we can physically measure the temperature if it is possible. I mean, I don't know if it is possible.
Yeah, we have measured everything 180 degrees Celsius.
You just check it somewhere. It might be air is entering in the system.
It might be.
It might be entering. You need to cross check closely.
Yeah,
Vivek?
Yes, we need to check the system and details and their temperature requirement to understand what is happening, right? Otherwise, if it is being operated below the bulk oil temperature, it should not fail, definitely.
Yeah, any old mail communication is there, I will send it to the team.
Please. Right.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.